Naruto carried the unconscious form of Gaara back towards the stadium where his clones had left Baki and his siblings. He was panting heavily from the chakra he had used to properly seal Shukaku away. He would have lost consciousness himself if Kurama was not shouting nonsense about chakra exhaustion in his mind. He jumped over the walls of the stadium to see Baki waking Tamari and Kankuro. The three of them tensed when they saw him carrying Gaara. He gently laid his fellow Jinchuriki on the ground. The fear was clearly apparent on the others' faces. He may now rest peacefully, without interruption. The damage caused to his mind cannot be reversed, but he is now able to build a new life for himself. He should wake up in the next day or so. Kankuro and Baki relaxed, while Tamari had tears forming in her eyes. Naruto stood up and pulled out a large paper tag. The tag exploded, releasing an immense wave of chakra, which Naruto quickly absorbed into his reserves, which had now returned to a third of their normal size. Granted, this amount was still within the Jonin range. Naruto then turned his gaze to the top of the Hokage booth, where the purple barrier was still up. He was about to head towards it when he felt someone drawing near. He relaxed when he saw it was his sensei, Kurenai, as well as the other Jonin. "It is about time you guys showed up," Naruto said with a smirk. Kurenai smiled gently. "Well, someone has to deal with the other shinobi. We cannot all fight off a tailed beast and win like you can." Kakashi stepped forward. "Are you alright, Naruto? It must have cost a lot of chakra to seal Shukaku away." Naruto flexed his muscles. "I will live." His face then turned grim. "Is the old man still fighting Orochimaru?" Kakashi nodded. "Even the Anbu are unable to enter. At his age, it is only a matter of time before he falls." Everyone gained somber expressions. Even Baki and the siblings realized how great the loss of a man, heralded as the world's greatest shinobi, would affect the village. "Good thing he has backup," a booming voice proclaimed. Everyone looked up to see a toad land on the ground beside them. On top of the toad stood an old man with long white hair that came down past his waist. Jiraiya of the Sannin grinned. "I saw your girlfriend and her team just before I came. She is doing fine," he reassured the blonde, making him visibly relax. "Are you ready to go help the old man, Naruto?" "Born ready," the blonde responded as the toad left for Mount Miyoboku. Jiraiya nodded as Naruto reached into his pouch and produced a kunai that was all too familiar to the others. A three-pronged kunai. I breathed out. "But how?" Asuma asked in amazement. "Can someone so young use that technique? Even if he's his son?" The Sand Shinobi were confused, as they did not see what Naruto had pulled out. Baki was about to question him when he felt a blade at his throat. He turned to see Hayate and Genma standing behind them. "You are coming with us for safekeeping. Do not resist. Hokage wants to keep as many of you alive as possible. And I doubt Naruto would appreciate us killing you," Genma added. Although they outranked him, the boy was not to be messed with. "That is right, I wouldn't," Naruto stated, turning back to the Jonin. "Trust me, I worked my butt off to learn this, and I have still yet to fully master it. Currently, I can only use it about 15 times a day on full power. So right now I have about 5 uses before having to use Kurama. I want you to keep this technique a secret from the other Genin. Only Hinata and Shino know, and I intend to keep it that way for now. Having Orochimaru find out is already trouble enough. The Jonin nodded dumbly, not knowing what else to do. Naruto, even at his age, was now faster than anyone in the village with that kunai formula. Perhaps even the entire world. Naruto placed his hand on Jiraiya. Let's do this. And with that, the blonde and the Sannin were gone in a flash. A bright, yellow flash. Hiruzen blocked yet another attack from the two legendary ninja he was currently fighting. After donning his shinobi gear, his old student, Orochimaru, had performed one of the most forbidden techniques in the world, the reanimation jutsu. Doing so had brought back the first and second Hokage, Hashirama and Tobirama Senju, from the pure world. They both wore the standard shinobi attire from their era, one blue, the other red, with the Senju symbol carved in. Hashirama's hair was black and came down to his waist. Tobirama's was white. He had 3 red marks on his face, 2 under his eyes, 1 on his chin. Although the two's power were drastically lower compared to when they were alive, they were still incredibly difficult to fight. There was one upside, which was that Hashirama and Tobirama were able to speak, despite Orochimaru's attempt to shut them up. Still, the fight was not going well. Come now, my dear Sarutobi-sensei. Do not leave me here waiting. Hurry up and end this already. The snake Sannin taunted with a sadistic grin on his face. When I created the reanimation jutsu, I did not intend for it to be used on myself. Tobirama grumbled, as he unwillingly attacked his old student. Then perhaps you should have listened to me and not made it in the first place. Hashirama responded loudly. At this rate, young Hiruzen will lose to us, brother. While I appreciate being called young, Lord First, I would much rather you tell me how to stop you, Hiruzen said shakily as he gasped for breath. Hashirama's sweat dropped as he once again went through hand signs. Wood style, deep forest emergence. Trees sprouted from the rooftops and tried to ensnare the third. By now the roof was already riddled with the trees, making it next to impossible to traverse the battlefield. Hiruzen blew out a massive fireball to stop the incoming attacks, but he was too late. The two brothers appeared on either side of him, kunai brandished. Hiruzen, already running on fumes, had no strength to dodge. He closed his eyes, ready to accept his fate at the hands of his predecessors. Rasengan! The Sarutobi's eyes flashed open at the sound of 2 voices and the devastating explosion that occurred on either side of him. He turned to see Naruto and Jiraiya, large rotating orbs of blue chakra in their hands, creating large holes in their reanimated bodies. Orochimaru's eyes were also snapped open. He had not even seen the brat and his former teammate appear. His mind quickly pieced together how they had appeared. He already had suspicions Naruto was the offspring of the late 4th Hokage. But now, he had just seen the boy use the Rasengan, known only by the 4th and Jiraiya. And if he was correct on how they got into the barrier, there was absolutely no doubt. However, while his mind was swirling with thoughts, a yellow flash appeared right beside him. Naruto brought his lightning-covered blade down in one hard, swift strike, which cut Orochimaru vertically in half. That is 2 uses, 3 left, Naruto thought to himself. But he knew the snake would not stay down. He turned to see Jiraiya jump beside him, carrying a paralysis seal, which he quickly placed on the emerging form of Orochimaru. The Sannin cursed himself for prolonging his body replacement in order to be dramatic. Next time, he would not make that mistake. But for the moment, he was incapacitated, and because of that, he could not command the Hokage to attack his sensei. Naruto turned back towards the third, giving him a cheerful smile. Quite an entrance we made, right? Hiruzen could not help but roll his eyes at the blonde's antics. His face quickly turned serious. Orochimaru used the reanimation jutsu on the first and second, and when you destroy their bodies, they merely regenerate. Naruto nodded, noticing that the two Hokage were already back on their feet. "Looks like we have a young one on our hands, elder brother," Tobirama stated, emotionless. "Yes," Hashirama replied as he turned back to the boy. "Who are you, kid?" Naruto relaxed, realizing that Orochimaru did not currently have control over them. "My name is Naruto Uzumaki, son of Kushina Uzumaki, and the fourth Hokage, Minato Namikaze." Hashirama grinned. "Oh, I see. Another Uzumaki, and without the red hair as well. So, you must have gotten that from your father." Tobirama looked to Hiruzen. "Where is this fourth Hokage? And why is he not the head of the village instead of you, Sarutobi?" Hiruzen's face grew sad. Both of Naruto's parents died on the day of his birth while fighting the Nine-Tails, who had been set free during Naruto's birth. His father sealed the thoughts inside his son to protect the village. "I see," Tobirama answered. "Although there is much I would like to say to you, Hiruzen, it would appear that Orochimaru has freed himself." Naruto turned back to the Sannin. Just as Tobirama had said, Orochimaru was now in a taijutsu bout with Jiraiya. "Do not worry about me, kid. I can deal with my old teammate. You focus on stopping the reanimation jutsu." "Understood." Naruto quickly made two shadow clones, both holding their hands out in front of them, palms facing upward. "Witness my father's signature technique." Blue chakra started swirling in Naruto's hand, traveling at high speed in every direction in the shape of a sphere. Once the clones had prepared themselves, they flashed from sight. Hashirama and Tobirama at their full power could have dodged the next attack, but in their current state, they were not a match for the flying Raijin. Naruto appeared behind each of them, once again slamming a Rasengan into their backs. Once they finished their attacks, they slapped their most powerful paralysis seal they could on the Hokage, freezing them in place and preventing them from regenerating. Hashirama let out a laugh of joy and surprise. Tobirama decided to swiftly question the boy while he was pulling out his sealing tools. "You managed to master the flying Raijin at such an early age?" "My father improved your original design of the Hiraishin, bringing the technique to its full strength. It's what earned him the nickname, the Yellow Flash. But I have yet to dive deeper into his notes about the jutsu." Tobirama grunted in reply, inwardly happy that one of his successors had improved one of the techniques he had created. He then turned serious when he was asked by Hiruzen to tell Naruto everything he could about the reanimation jutsu, so that Naruto could create a countermeasure. There are a few ways to undo the jutsu. The first is using the Reaper Death Seal to remove the soul bound to this world. The second would be to force Orochimaru to perform the correct seals. Other than that, no other ways are known currently. Theoretically, a containment seal could be used, or even a storage seal. Naruto hummed. Containment would work, but the others are out of the question. "But I think I know how to end this." He looked up to lock eyes with Tobirama. "Tell me how to perform the reanimation jutsu." Jiraiya blocked another strike to his chest from his old comrade, a cross between annoyance and glee on his face. Orochimaru was having too much fun for his tastes. Their fight had led to neither of them gaining any major wounds, but Jiraiya was in worse shape. Although he hated to admit it, Orochimaru outclassed him in speed. Not that the wretched snake didn't have wounds of his own. Jiraiya jumped over his opponent, throwing a barrage of shuriken midair. Orochimaru brought his hands up. Wind style, gale palm. The burst of air sent the shuriken flying in every direction. Orochimaru grinned, sending another burst of wind at his former squad mate. Jiraiya managed to dodge a few attacks, but then felt a strike in his back, a blade coming out the other end. Jiraiya substituted with a nearby log, clutching the wound on his side. His medical ninjutsu was limited, so all he could do was stop the bleeding. He had to do a rush job, as Orochimaru was already slithering towards him, a peculiar sword in his hand. It had a handle wrapped in cloth, a dull gold hilt with a blue tomo, the same design as Orochimaru's earrings. The Toad Sage knew this blade was the long sword of Kusanagi, a blade that only the Snake Sani knew where it was from. He said that it was a package deal with the snake summons. Orochimaru swung, nicking Jiraiya's shoulder. He jumped to the side, performing the snake sign. Art of the Raging Lion's Mane. Jiraiya's white hair sprouted from his head, becoming sharp as needles. Jiraiya jumped at Orochimaru, his hair swinging ferociously at him. Orochimaru blocked the sharpened tendrils with Kusanagi. Seeing that Orochimaru was too fast for his lion's mane, he pulled it back to its natural length. Fire style, giant flame bomb. Earth style, mud wall. Orochimaru easily blocked the fire jutsu with his mud wall, which was destroyed, as well as most of the surrounding trees. From the smoke, 2 kunai flew towards him, explosive seals wrapped around the handle. Orochimaru jumped above them, letting them explode harmlessly underneath. His smile vanished when he felt a Rasengan smash into his chest. He coughed up blood, seeing Jiraiya's smirking face, having finally landed a good hit. His victory was short-lived, as Orochimaru merely released another body from his mouth, skipping the drawn-out emergence he usually performed. Impressive, Jiraiya. You managed to land a hit on me. But you forgot one key factor. From behind Jiraiya, the Kusanagi extended its blade to an unnatural length, heading right for Jiraiya's heart. But, much to Orochimaru's confusion, the Toad Sage smiled. And it also appears that you forgot about my precious student and his skills as a shinobi. Wood style, deep forest emergence. A wall of thick bark blocked Kusanagi from hitting its intended target, knocking it to the ground. Orochimaru glared in confusion and rage. The 2 reanimated souls that were the Hokage stood beside his old teammate, no longer under his control. But how? That's simple, Naruto replied, panting heavily on the ground a short distance away. You may have enhanced the reanimation jutsu, but your hold on them is amateur at best. What are you talking about, brat? Tobirama was the one to respond. Young Naruto found a way to imprint his chakra onto the control tags you placed in our heads to manipulate us. His chakra is much stronger than yours, even if he used less. Since he removed the tags, we gained control of our bodies. And now, only he can undo the jutsu. Hashirama held 2 kunai, each attached to a special seal Orochimaru had stuck inside their heads. Naruto shakily stood up, once again running on fumes. Still, it would take a long time before either of us can perfect the jutsu. But you would say I am a step ahead of you in that department, Orochimaru. The snake held back his anger. He knew that he had no chance of beating both Jiraiya and the old Hokages by himself, even if they were not as powerful as their original forms. He sneered in response. Looks like you really are an impressive shinobi. It also appears that I am outmatched. In that case, I might as well take my leave. And so, 4 sound ninja, each looking rather peculiar, jump beside their master. Sound 4. We are leaving. In a poof of smoke, the rogue Sanin and his henchmen disappeared. The Leaf Shinobi stared at where they had just disappeared and relaxed. Those of whom that still lived collapsed to their knees. Hiruzen was already nearing unconsciousness. Jiraiya was panting, and Naruto was being supported by Kurama's power. The Senju brothers gazed at their village, now that they were not being controlled. It would appear that not much has changed, elder brother. Indeed, younger brother. Hashirama turned to look at the blonde behind them, and it would seem the will of fire burned strong inside the new generation as well. Tobirama nodded. Everyone turned to see a group of Anbu running towards them. They were about to ask why the previous Hokage were standing in front of them, when Jiraiya stopped them. Orochimaru brought them back, but do not worry about them. Now hurry and take Lord Third to some medical care. Yes, Lord Jiraiya. The Anbu moved to carry Hiruzen away. Before leaving, he gave Naruto a smile. Thanks for the backup. Anytime, old man, he responded shakily. Jiraiya ordered the remaining Anbu to join the other Leaf Shinobi, who were rounding up the members of the Sand Village, and either eliminating or capturing any remaining Sound Ninja. After they had gone, the sage turned to Naruto. How are you feeling, kid? Naruto chuckled softly. Once I release Lord First and Second, I will probably faint from chakra exhaustion. The fox says he can't pump more of his chakra into me, or else I might suffer more permanent damage. I have already used more of his power than I can handle. Jiraiya nodded. Hashirama walked closer, kneeling to stare at the blonde, giving him a curious look. The two stared at each other for a moment, before the wood-styled user laughed happily. What is up with you, elder brother? Tobirama asked, giving him the usual blank stare. Oh, nothing. I was just gauging this one's strength. Hashirama stood up. You are definitely going to surpass me, my brother, Sarutobi, your father, and any other Hokage that comes before you. Naruto's eyes widened. To receive such praise from the godfather of Shinobi was a great honor. He did not know how to respond. He simply nodded dumbly and watched as the Senju took one last look at his village. It is time for us to return to the pure world, Tobirama stated. You will have to release us now. Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto's dumb expression returned, knowing that Lord Second did not just call anyone by their full name. He smirked inwardly. Now, I have the faith of all 4 of the Hokage. No way am I going to let them down now. Naruto brought his hands together. Rat, ox, monkey, tiger, dragon, boar. Release. Once the hand signs were completed, the Hokage's bodies began to fall apart, letting their souls return to the pure world. Hashirama donned a silly smile, while Tobirama a slight grin. Naruto! Hashirama shouted as he disappeared. Give my regards and apologies to the Ninetales. Naruto nodded as he and Jiraiya watched as the legendary ninja faded away. Finally, Naruto breathed out. Now, I can rest. Naruto fell on his back. His vision blurred as he faded into unconsciousness. Hinata is going to kill me when I wake up. Jiraiya picked up the body of his student, a smile on his face. Rest, kid. You deserve it.